Welcome in, everyone. This is going to be our flow recap for the week of Friday 10/10/2025 to 10/17/2025. If you're new to joining this video, we recap the entry of the whale to the max return of the whale. I will point out exits, we'll dive into the raw flow, how it looked as well. I'm going to kind of do maybe a little different format here. I don't want to dive into every single teeny little one. It gets a little boring, so I kind of want to try to hit them all and show kind of how they look. We have a lot of good examples this week of whales exiting at the ask, whales adding at the bid and mid, so there's a lot of really good examples this week. So this is going to probably be a really good video to kind of watch here. And keep in mind when I'm recapping these, it's the max range of the trade, so even if that whale exited, we are going to look at the max range still, just kind of see what that whale could have missed out on and kind of go from there. So if you're new to this video, again, all these flow alerts, they're either posted in the flow alerts area, ETF flow alerts area, and we don't have anything for flow and charts this week, so these are the 3 tracked areas where that flow is tracked. There's actually a lot more flow that gets posted that's not tracked, but that is called out. So again, and everything is posted in real time. I do not edit my posts. If you don't believe me, feel free to come and hang out and you can see them all posted in real time. And that's one thing too with the flow, keep in mind it's all time sensitive. So let's kind of get started here. We're going to start with last Friday's here. So the BMRs, this one, that whale actually kind of looks like they exited that same day and next day here. So looking at the 10th here, you can see a majority of that volume probably carrying over here. Then you see just kind of a lot of contracts changing hands here on the 13th. Looks like that whale kind of got out about 221 there in this 171-ish area. But looks like whatever was probably left, they handed off here about 80. And you can see that handoff here just with not a big open interest change. Smaller open interest change, but a lot of volume on the day there on the 14th there and 13th as well. So that 13th is the big one there with that 11,000 volume and only about 1,100 contracts coming off. So somebody bought those contracts. So this one would have been a loss for that whale. So they cut them about 218-ish. I have it marked here at 88%. And a thing with the cutting, you don't need, some of these whales will end up cutting at like 70-80%. That's not a good trade. Should always be managing your risk, and when you hop into these plays, please have a plan. And again, also for anybody new to the video, none of this is financial advice. Just hanging out, showing you some regular flow and stuff. But yeah, interesting one there because that one cut. And the Eli Lilly calls here from last Friday, these expired today. These made an intraday move here as well. We're going to pop this back to last Friday. So you can see how that popped up here and just kind of slowly grinded down, and see a lot of volume here near that high of the day. You can see majority of that volume, about half of it carrying over, but you got a bunch of other little candles here too as well. So looks like your big whale probably took some profits here near that high of the day. So that remained at a high of 12 on the day, so that's marked as a winner as 25.65%. And I do want to let everybody know as well too, with the what I consider a winning trade will be anything over 10% at least. If you're up 10% on a trade, should have at least a stop on it, a break even. That's kind of how I do it. So anything over that 10% is considered a winner here in that spreadsheet. So, and this will be, and again, for anybody that's not in Stock Hub either, I do have the spreadsheet. I throw in notes with everything, so really good to match this spreadsheet with the video, and you can actually kind of see that visual here. So those Eli Lillies, the 955 to 12 there. So let's keep on going here, and we'll look into this upcoming week's flow a little bit better. I don't want to kind of dive into last Friday's too much, just kind of recapping it to see if it moved more, and now our next two did move. So circle here from last Friday, obviously they opened about 1,100 contracts, 336,000 in premium. Those ran up the same day. Choppy for a couple days here. Dropped a little bit here and hit your high here on Friday and ended up 9% in the money. So a pretty massive move on those, and knowing their weeklies, you're probably not going to hold them the entire week. You're probably going to take profits here on that Friday there. I mean, when you're up from 293 all the way up to about 989 there. Smart thing to do with something like that is probably take some profits. And 1,100 contracts here on the 10th. I want to see how many carried over. Majority of those carried over. Obviously, only about 1,600 on the day, so kind of hard to know exactly what carried over. But these green candles here may be some profit taking. Hard to always know. You'll never know exactly what the oil's going to do. Just have to use your context clues, and this is just a lot of screen time of just kind of watching and learning as well. So let's move on here. We have the 1010 PD5. Well, those were 0 days, so we're not even going to look at those. Those expired last Friday, so that was last Friday's there, obviously. So big move on those from last week, 255 on those. So on to this week now. The 1114 Nvidia 190 called. A lot of people were talking about these. This one, if they're losing right now, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on the raw flow. Well, I guess we will. Let's see. I do want this video to kind of be a little more in depth as well. So it's kind of coming down here and looking at that raw flow when it comes in. We'll see sometimes you can't always go back because Nvidia gets a lot of volume on it. So okay, here we are. So you can see your first trades of the day coming in here on Nvidia on this chain at least. So a lot of repeated hits coming in here. And you see your big volume come in here. Little IV drop, but your timing's not 100% the same here. And just kind of looking at that here. I mean, IV comes up here a little bit. IV drops a little bit. IV comes back up. IV decides to come back up. And you can see that big spike here on that volume here. So you're saying the bid ask is 915. It's probably about 910. I mean, you're kind of seeing that come up here. And then that spot drops here. And that IV goes up. So, I mean, the flow looks good here. Just kind of following up. I mean, you're just getting a lot of hits on this. And Nvidia is going to get a lot of hits. Highly liquid stock that gets traded. So is this whale still in? You got 21,000 contracts here on the 13th. And seeing all these big spikes. And again, with Nvidia, SPY, AMD, Meta, Google, those big names see a lot of volume. So when you're tracking this, it can be a little tough. So let's pop down to the open interest here and take a peek. So 29,000. So whale, for sure, everybody can kind of see 22,000 is a huge chunk of the 29,000. So what kind of concerns me here is you're seeing 11,000 here on the 14th with about 3,700 added. And then another 11,000 here on the 15th and only 1,300 added. To me, it looks like the whale may have cut some to manage their risk, but looks like to me a majority of it is still in. Hard to, you'll never 100% know unless you can tell me who that whale is and you can ask them in real life, but you're never gonna 100% know. But just kind of based off the candles, I'm gonna say that whale's probably still in a decent chunk of their position. So those contracts were opened at 910 here, and then they're trading at about 607. What do we got for a close here? 569 here. Trading at about 569, so our whale is down about 37% on those. Still some time on those, and they do not overlap earnings. And if you see any of the flow you like here, want to do something with it, feel free to. But again, none of this is going to be advice. I do like that net call premium picking up here on the day. How do we look the last 7 days? I mean, there's a lot of net call premium the last 2 days and just not a lot of put premium. So that's a good sign if you are in calls. So up next, the 1031 BMY 43 puts. These were kind of choppy for a day. Just kind of your net premium is pretty flat on here. Big drop in that net call premium here though, and still got a lot of time on these. Let's look at that flow here. So 1,000 contracts on the 13th. Most of those carried over. Looks like most of it's still in here. Just kind of doing a visual here. I'm just looking for those big spikes in the candles. Let's look at that flow. So you can see, and if you watch my flow recap videos before, my flow is pretty always going to be uniformed, where that IV is increasing, that spot is coming in at the ask, or that spot price is increasing. And these are just rules that I go by. Just because the rules are there does not mean the flow is going to go in your direction. You will never 100% know if they are buying these contracts. You can have all your rules, everything. So this is why I always tell people use multiple data points. So your flow charts, net premiums, you can look at other contracts. So different, multiple ways to kind of combine the data. But these are kind of the rules. This IV could drop massively and that spot could decrease the entire way, and the flow could run down, or the BMY could drop 20%, and your numbers didn't match how you like. It happens all the time, so it's just kind of, you're using context clues to narrow down the flow to flow that you would potentially like here. So this flow is a good example though. I mean, you have that IV spike here, that spot coming in at the ask, and it's a little wider bid ask spread too, so it's showing aggression. So just following this up, I see that IV staying up that whole way. Spot coming in at the ask the whole way. Flow looks good there. Still a little time on these, but 130 kind of choppy for a day. Came back up, got green on the 14th, and then we hit our high here on the 16th. Only about 152 here, so about 16.92%. They're trading at about 118 right now, so just slightly below the whale entry, but 16.92% max return here. And I mean, that's a smooth move here where you're just kind of coming up here as well. But good move on those. So your final numbers on the BMY is 130 to 152. All right, let's move on here. So up next we have the 1219 20 call TAC 20 calls. So another one that made a good move here. So about 2,000 contracts, 210K in premium. Looking at the 13th here, majority of that volume came in here, and you can see most of that still here. And that flow, I'm going to go and take a peek at that. And I always pop the results down just so you can see that full page of flow. That is one of the big things that you have to do. You have to read this raw flow feed. You can't just look at the flow and say, oh, it's an ask side flow, it's a buy. That's 100% incorrect. And if anybody tells you that, tell them, unfollow them and block them and stay away from them. So here's where our flow comes in. Again, got a repeated hits ascending fill. That just means your spot price is increasing as it comes up. And you just see that IV increase here too. So this is really good textbook flow here where that IV is increasing, spot price is increasing. Looks good. And your entry here, about 106, looks like those pop that same day, hit 136, 139. So same day, so 140 there. And I mean, you're chopping at that 130, 135 for a couple days. Enough time to take some profits here. And just kind of seeing a lot of contracts here and bigger sizes here of volume on the day, and just not huge open interest changes. So it could just be slowly sizing out here as well. But that's telling me just when you're seeing that lighter, I don't want to say lighter volume, but those big volume numbers and just not massive changes in the open interest, like 600 here, you only had 100 increase. That whale's probably taking some profits here, and again, it's about 2,000 contracts, so 900 there, about only 500 carrying over, so about a quarter of it right there. Kind of get the idea there. And you just see that net call premium on the day, just massive spikes there. So good look there. Again, the TACs 97 to the high of 140 for 44.33%. Palantir, one of everybody's favorites. So this was our entry here at 795. Whale opened about 5,800 contracts, 4.6 million here on the 13th. You can see a large chunk of that volume carrying over here. And oh man, my allergies have been killing me for the last couple days, but 13th here, so 795. Come in here, just kind of look at that flow feed. And Palantir getting one of those that are highly traded, so it can get a little messy. Let's see if it's going to let us get back that far. Okay, here we go. So you can see right when that whale starts to come in, your IV spikes. Your spot is coming in at the ask. I'm looking for any drops in that spot here, and you're not going to probably have it on this because it's a repeated hits ascending fill. Just looking at that IV as well. And when I'm looking at the flow here, and this is just a screen time thing, it's just like anything else, you have to repeatedly do it. It takes time to learn. You're not going to learn it from just watching this one video. You need to do this multiple times, and it's easier to do it in live time too. So, but like you can see this, so your spot price increases, your IV increases again there. This reads as a buy. And you can see kind of choppy for that day. It looks like we gapped down a little bit here. I wonder if this whale, so this was on the 13th. So big chunk there. So you have a large amount of volume here on the 14th and no open interest changes. So I think that whale probably passed off here about 719-ish from their 795 entry, but they did miss out on a run because these hit 10, 11, and 11.25 here on the 16th. So they missed out on a 36.36% gain. So you can see where the whales can be wrong as well sometimes, but just kind of looking at that. And I always keep the net premium chart up too, usually just on the daily, but so I can kind of see how that's moving. And if I like the flow, I'll pop it back down to the 7 days. And that net premium chart, that is just telling you, so anything above this 0 is going to be considered ask side. So if you see the red bar like Friday, that's a lot of ask side net put premium, and this is going to tell you how the volume is on it. And below 0 is bid side, so bid side calls. People are just, I think of it as inflow, outflow. That's just how I kind of look at it. So the higher the inflow, outflow of calls or puts, possibly the move. That's just kind of how I look at it. It is premium based though, where this is all ask side premium, so this is premium coming in at the ask, below 0 premium coming in at the bid. So again, I wouldn't just trade based off the net premiums, because you can have where if somebody's doing a big roll on the net premiums, that net premium can get skewed a little bit. So again, just another data point. Everything should be used together to combine to help with your thesis. So I mean, don't just trade based off net premiums. But again, good move on those Palantirs, the 825 to 1125, so 36.36%. Carvana, these things, big move here. So on the, so these are from the 13th. So 13th, this whale actually, I gotta see how big these candles are. 898, so we're gonna say 900 and 900, so 1800. Something that's messed up with the volume on this one. Wait a minute. Oh, the 10th. I was like, wait a minute, 10th and then the 13th. Okay, so the 10th is when we got it. Nope, I got the 13th marked here. Okay, we're gonna go, okay. Okay, so we went with the 13th here. So, okay, volume carried in. So that whale actually got out here on the 13th. Hold on. This is a Saturday morning brain going on right here. Okay, so 10th. And then the 13th. So 13th is here. 13th. So that whale passed the contracts off to somebody else at the ask here. So, okay, yeah, this is a good example here. So, original whale opened here, passed them off at the ask. So 10th, you can see that volume carry over. Here's the rest of that volume there. No change in that, or just a small change in the open interest. So somebody else is holding those contracts at the ask there then. So again, good example there of not all ask flow is opening flow, because somebody on Twitter, X, whatever, would have said, oh, they're adding here. No, they did not add here, because look, that did not carry over. And that new whale, though, happy because they did make a big move up here, hitting 580 there on the 15th. So, and in real time, when you see this, you're probably going to assume it's an ask. You won't know until that open interest updates that next day. So again, volume, intraday contracts changing hands, open interest. How many of those contracts are people still holding, essentially? So, second whale profited, first whale did not. And what did that first whale get out at? 154, 125. Okay, so yeah, 150. So yeah, 580 there on the 15th though. So 364% for that second whale. Couldn't move on those. Okay, VU, the 1031.18 calls. Again from the 13th. See most of that volume carrying over. 12,000 here, so they added here at the bid and ask side, or mid and ask side, mid and bid side. And I kind of want to dig in a little deeper on this one. So original entry here, see that IV increase, small little drop there. One contract though, not gonna change anything. Pops back up anyways, looks good. Spots coming in at the ask. So then this mid and bid side here in the 14th. So these were open on the 13th. They added here as well. I just want to look at that flow for the mid and bid. See how it looks. I guess it's going to look messy. So 50-17. So you see how that IV still kind of is coming up here and then looking good there. No, why was this still on the 13th? What, did I click on the wrong candle? Well, there were some ask side ones on there. It's a Saturday morning break. Usually I do the videos on Friday night, but preparing, we have a wedding to go to today, so I'm stuck doing that. So 50-17, and it's going to mess up here. 50-17, so that IV increases. That does read as a buy there. I don't know why it's still saying the 13th. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. But from the original 23 entry, I have 22 marked here on the spreadsheet. These moved up, hit 29 here on the 14th, choppy, and then you ended up hitting a high here of 31 on the 15th, 36 on the 15th. So that's a 63.64% gain. I'm going to have a stop on if I'm up that much, and look at how easily down you could just size out of something like this. You throw a trailing stop on, something like that. That's typically what I would do. So good move on those, and just see back here on the 14th, this call premium looks good, and still looks like there could be a possible move here. I mean, some time on those. Alright, so up next we have the 1024 NVTS 12.5 calls. Great move on these, so 1014. Say about half of that volume carries over here. You're seeing a lot of volume here, so my guess that whale's probably taking some profits here. 1016, about 1,200 contracts. No big changes in the open interest, so those contracts are getting handed off there. You just see a smooth move there, 124 hitting that high on the 16th of 438. So it's a 298.18% gain. Looks like your whale's getting out here probably 244, 360-ish. So good move on those. And like this one's a really clear net call premium one. I mean, there's a lot of inflow into this name. And these are 15% in the money as well now too. And those, I mean, made a move right away as well too. All right, JD, these ones are kind of flattish still. About 2 weeks left on these. Whale in 6,000 contracts. Still in here. I mean, like, this is an easy one to just see that they're still in. You don't see a lot of volume after this. In at 32, trading at 12 right now. They did almost come back up to break even yesterday on Friday to 26. And just, I mean, not a lot of premiums on this one right now. And you'll never know what they're doing. I mean, this could be a hedge. You never know. But that whale would be if they truly are still looking for the stock to go down. They're down 62%. So up next, we have the 1031 BBAI 10 calls. And this one, we're going to pop back to the 14th. Actually, we're going to start here. Come down here to the 14th. So, see about 15,000 contracts traded on the day for the total chain. And our whale is about 6,400 here. So that's about half of the volume there. And you see about, we'll say 9,000 carry over. So a decent chunk of that carries over, but you're starting to get a lot of volume here on those next couple days. And you do have some volume coming in here at 89, up at 96, 88. And some volume here towards the end of the day about 92. So kind of hard to fully know who's sizing out, what's sizing out, but on the day there from the 14th, those did hit a high of 105, so 91 here to 105 would give us a 15.38%. Again, knowing you're heading, there's a lot of volatility, I'm probably going to have a stop on it. And if you're seeing this much volume, should kind of maybe think about putting a stop on. That's just something I do because now we're down. But, and this is such a slow mover too, where you need a pretty explosive move back up here, and it looks like we're trading about $9 here, so needs a move. I mean, you never know what can happen, but again, at the time from when that whale came into the high, about 15.38%. So up next, the 1024 APLD 42 calls. Whale coming in here 14th, 1,300 contracts, 230K premium. About a little more than half carrying over here, so whale's probably still in, but see a lot of volume here that next day near the high here, so not a big open interest change that next day either, so probably thinking that whale may have sold some and or passed on whatever they had left, because that 177 and then you gap up and hit 280 here and then 260 the next day, should probably be taking some profits. The 280 there for the APLDs would give us from, let's see, where am I? 177 to that 280, yeah, 58.19% on there. I mean, you should be taking some profits even if you have a second chance here and got greedy. So, and again, another one where you just see that net call premium, a lot of inflow there. Okay, up next we have the 1024 Uber 97 calls. Good move on these, and this whale is actually exiting for a loss, and here it looks like 142, and they did run hit 164 that same day, so they're up, and then you get a big move up that next day on the 15th, trading about 249, so that whale's up 75.39%. You can see that volume still in here. Here they are passing them off on the 16th, no open interest change on the 17th. Somebody else is getting those contracts at 95, so that whale gave up almost 75% there and sold them for a loss. This is why I'm always telling people, do not follow the whales off a cliff. The whales are a good starting point, and you need to manage your own trades from that end. So, good move on those, though, for our entry, 75.35%. And let's do the WFCs. These were after earnings. Again, good pop here, 176 on the 14th. You can see on the 15th we hit our high, so next day, 325, And what was the entry there? 176. Yeah, even trade at 288 the day after. Should be securing profits. That whale's still in. Something I like to do too. If I really like this play, I mean, I know that whale's still in 20 days. I have a stop on it. I'm securing profits on the way down. If I get a discounted entry, like now they're trading at 129 and the whale's in at 176, I might want to re-enter here and try to secure another move up. But you don't need to drop from being 84% up to being negative just because that whale's still in. Size out smartly, and then you can always recycle your profits and look for another move up. So again, 176, they hit their high here, 322, I got 325 here. So 84.66% on those. Actually, let's look at the raw flow on here because this was right after earnings. So again, pop the results out. Okay. Now it's going to get good. Sometimes it gets goofy every once in a while when you try to go back further. So IV, and these were coming in towards the end of the day. I wonder if I can remove my time filter and take a peek. Yeah, it's going to be a little messy. Third time's the charm here. So just that IV staying up here. Flows coming in at the ask. Obviously on the 14th, they beat earnings, so just massive spikes in call premium, so pretty easy one to kind of see there. So up next, and this one's an interesting one. This is one of our losers so far. I'm going to pop this down a little bit. So you got two large ask side candles here on the 15th. 2,000 contracts, well, 2052 traded on the day. That whale's still in. Just and then this is a screen time thing where you just easily look at this. Okay, volume's all there, open interest, or volume carried over into open interest, whale's still in. So you have this big mid and smaller ask side candle coming in open. I had a couple people ask, they're like, did that whale close? I don't know until that open interest updates that next day because not everything at the mid bid or ask is going to be opening. So this one I don't know until that next day, and next day on Friday that volume carried over, so that whale actually added. If this is the same person and just an educated guess, it probably is, or it's related to each other. They are still in this trade. So trading at, they close at 257 today, so down 55%, but about a month to go on those. So something interesting to watch there. Alright, we're going to kind of speed up because I know there's probably not a lot of people left watching the video. Google here. These were ask side puts 366, came up and hit 404 that day. Actually 431 for a high here on the 15th. So 431 for a high. So about 18%, and it's again, see a lot of that volume here near the high of the day. So that whale's taking it out at the peak. They're taking profits near the peak, which doesn't always happen and usually will not happen for retail traders, but about half of that volume carrying over. You can see it's about 700 contracts. That whale probably got out throughout the day here, it looks like. And yeah, I mean, good move on those, 365 to 431, and just a small drop there too as well right away. So I mean, good time to kind of get a discounted entry. Probably not going to get filled right at that 366 on that pop, but good move if you got in those on at least on a little dip. And just because you're on it, well, with the days of expiration, I kind of look at that as how, and this isn't always going to be 100% accurate, how quickly that stock should be moving. If the contracts are weeklies, they're probably looking for a move within a day or two, just with theta eating the contracts, versus a contract that's 60 days out, where they're looking at a longer term view. But I have it all the time where 60-day contracts will move right away, and that's how it goes. You just never know what they're going to fully do, so it's just, you have to be cautious and manage your risk properly. But good move, 365 to 431, 18.08% on those. AMD calls, these right back here, 6,600. This one, again, you're going to have so much volume here, you're not going to know what's what. So the 15th, I mean, you have 48,000 on the day. They're out that same day because you only have 4,000 carryover. And 6,000 contracts here, I mean, they're out. Or if they're not, they're probably getting out here near the open. But massive move up that same day, 256. In 594 that same day, 15th. 655 and then 651 the next day. So trading near the high of the week on the contracts for 2 days, that's enough time. And you can see those big spikes here. My guess is this is where your whale's probably getting out on these larger candles right here. And then right here. So 162% on those. Great move. Alright, we only got a couple left. So the 1024 IREN 54 puts. Beautiful move on these. And I'm going to pop this down to the 2-day now because we're at Thursday. 1,300 contracts. Actually, this whale, 120, 511, so 600. You only had 600 contracts carry over. So that whale actually got out here on the pop. So 120, and they got out at 173. 173 was our entry, though. Just trying to do some math here in my head. Yeah, I mean, you had about half of that carryover. So maybe the whale took some profits. My math, 623 plus 511, so about 1,200, and you only had 600 carryover. So yeah, that whale may have, or maybe the original person opened them, sold them to somebody else because they bought more contracts at the time. Just doing some math here. 511, what's this, 150? So 550 plus 6. I think what may have happened here, original person came in, sold near a high to somebody else that bought more contracts, dropped a little bit, and then they ran in here. So these look like they're still in, though. But they did hit their high here yesterday of 292, so 68.79% on there, those. So yeah, it looks like whale 1 handed off to whale 2. Whale 2 bought more contracts. Small drop, and then it ripped. And it ripped same day as well. And just nothing with the net premiums either. SPY puts, these things printed, an easy one here. This whale got out that same day. 1016, very easy one to see here. So again, you have the clowns on Twitter X saying, oh, look, another ad here of 10,000. Here's 5,000, 5,000, 5 plus 5 is 10. There's another 10,000 at the ask. Oh, hey, look, only 5,000 carried over. So this whale, original whale here, 918, 928. I've got 918 marked here. Coming up here, selling at 1394. Did hit the high here of 1564, so 70.30%. So that whale's getting out around that 70% mark there at the ask. Because you have 5,000 carryover, so we got little retail traders getting this passed off too. So that is another misconception that all ask side flow is a buy, because clearly it's not. So, well, somebody else bought those contracts, but it doesn't mean it's an add to the position. So good move on those, 918 to 1564, 70.37%. BAC puts, massive move, same day, 82. Big chunk of that volume, I'd say carrying over about 60% of that volume. 82, I mean, that ran that same day, 109, 115, probably with the spread there. So 40.24% there. You know they're weeklies. I'm probably going to start taking some profits when I see that coming down towards close. But 82, trading at 36 now. That's why you take profits when you see them. See profits, take profits. Now we're on to Friday's flow here, and we'll make it quick here. Gold puts, 1327, we hit 1640 for a high, kind of closing near that high. Just big spike in put premium here today. A lot of outflow on calls there. Just kind of looking at that flow again here. Small little drop there. So, I mean, it's a minute later. That's not really part of the same trade. I'm looking at that full feed anyways, but small little drop there. Then you come back up. IV rises, coming in at the ask, looking good there, and a couple minutes later, so I'm not really, could be part of the trade, might not be, we don't know. But again, combining that with your net premiums rising, net put premiums rising, look good, and everybody knows gold's been running at all-time highs, could be due for a pullback, and obviously it made a good move to near Friday. BITF, this one's going to be interesting on Monday. Whale enter here, 3,300 contracts, 40 cents a contract. Seeing some more volume here near 43. It looks like we closed at 48 here. So they closed up 20%. So I'll have to see how much of that gets carried over. Again, you know you're up 20% near close. These are weeklies. You're going to get theta 8 over the weekend. So something like that. I mean, have to see how much of this carries over Monday. Then MicroStrategy, we got in on the second candle here, 415. Smooth move up again, another weekly where I'm probably not going to swing over the weekend, but hitting 530 here for a high, so 27.71%. So again, that's our flow recap for last Friday and this week. And again, if you are new to my videos, everything, I mean, you come in here, nothing's edited, all time stamps, everything's posted. And if you're new to and you only want the trackable flow, like my spotlight flow and all that, this is flow that looks interesting to me, but it doesn't match my criteria. And I do have an overview video that explains everything, all the channels and all that, but that's all we got for this week. If you'd like to try Unusual Whales, I have a 10% off discount code. If you'd like to join Stock Hub plus Keith's research, he does a lot of live streams, a lot of reports. Both links are in the description below. Have a great rest of your weekend, everyone.